Over in the pages of Marvel Comics, the publisher is headed over to San Diego Comic-Con, and with them is a bevy of news announcements for comic book shipping not only in the month of October, but November as well. We have a really fascinating new creative team on Marvel's current Venom book, which I'm a huge fan of, and it looks like Black Widow is set to take up the Venom symbiote. Plus, we have a look over at the brand new Ultimate Universe and another sneak peek over at Jonathan Hickman's Gods Project. My name is Arako Brannock, and let's go ahead and jump into some news announcements and solicitations over from Marvel Comics. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button if you enjoy our content. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and kick off our list of some of the most anticipated titles and tantalizing San Diego Comic-Con announcements over with a look at Marvel Comics Gods #1. Marvel has done such a great job building up to this debut over from Jonathan Hickman. Gods #1 also features some art coming in from Valerio Schiti and a cover from Mateus Manhanini. The infinite detente between the natural order of things and the powers that be nears an end. Old acquaintances are reunited during a Babylon event. The Lion of Wolves throws the worst parties. Don't look under the table, there's a John Wilkes Booth penny on the ground. This enormous extra-sized first issue features Doctor Strange, who, while only not boring at all, is easily the most boring person in the book. Couple things about this Gods series. So first off, I am super intrigued at what Jonathan Hickman is looking to do in this title, which is essentially revitalize Marvel's pantheon of gods for other creators to kind of utilize moving forward here. This does look like a huge project over from the House of Ideas. So really hoping that this could lead to a really interesting future of Marvel's publishing line full of gods characters. I want to go ahead and introduce our next Jonathan Hickman book. This is his interpretation of the Ultimate Universe with Ultimate Universe #1. I believe this is a look over at the logo for the series as well. Of course, Ultimate Universe #1 written over from Jonathan Hickman featuring art from Stefano Caselli, and we're taking a look over at this cover from Bryan Hitch. The spoils of victory. After the world-shaking conclusion of Ultimate Invasion, a new team of heroes bands together to save the future. From mastermind Jonathan Hickman and superstar artist Stefano Caselli, don't miss out on this foundational issue for the new line of Ultimate Comics. One thing I want to say here is I was curious as to where Stefano Caselli would head over to Marvel's future publishing line. Of course, I know he's got a long-standing working relationship with Jonathan Hickman, and I have no doubt that some of the collaborative efforts in Ultimate Universe will kind of bear some rewards. We've already had the first issue of Ultimate Invasion, which is the lead up over to this kind of Ultimate Universe issue. I really enjoyed that book. I thought some of the themes they took on over with the Maker were absolutely fascinating, and thought that the art over from Bryan Hitch in that issue was also phenomenal. I want to know what you thought about that debut issue, and if you're excited for Ultimate Universe as well. Here's a look over at Sensational She-Hulk #1, written by Rainbow Rowell and Jessica Gao, featuring artwork from Andres Genolet and a to-be-announced creator. This cover that we have up on the screen is from Jen Bartel. The Sensational She-Hulk is back. Jen Walters is dusting off her adjective and kicking off a new era. The best hero / lawyer in the Marvel Universe is going to remind you why she's so sensational, going up against her deadliest challenge yet. Plus, Marvel Studios She-Hulk writer Jessica Gao makes hers Marvel in a short story with the Jade Giant over in the She-Hulk run from Rainbow Rowell and Andres Genolet. I have loved how that series has fleshed out some of the characterization over with Jennifer, and her kind of encounter with the villainous scoundrel has really been a centerpiece for that series, alongside Jennifer's current relationship over with Jack of Hearts. Really fascinating to see how that series is developed. One thing to note about Sensational She-Hulk is I'm not sure it's the best idea for Marvel to just go ahead and relaunch this volume of the character with a new #1, as opposed to just continuing the issue. That being said, I know this is done for sales, so hopefully at the end of the day, more people will be invested in this new She-Hulk book with a new #1, and hoping that we won't get any more, She-Hulk relaunches during this fantastic Rainbow Rowell run on the title. Would also love to hear your comments on this one too. I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talking about this current run over on She-Hulk. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about this climactic looking Amazing Spider-Man issue. This one written over from Zeb Wells, featuring art from Patrick Gleason and a cover by John Romita Jr. This sets up the next 24 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Do not miss this. So this is a really fascinating cover that we have over from John Romita Jr. It appears to tease a kind of goblin character in the Spider-Man suit. So really fascinated to see if Norman Osborn, who throughout this series has stopped being the kind of villainous Green Goblin and turned alignments to the heroic Gold Goblin, I wonder if the time over on Norman's days as Gold Goblin is numbered. We're just going to have to wait to see as we head into the Amazing Spider-Man 35. Next up is another really, really huge twist from one of my favorite current Marvel series. This is a look over at Venom 27 on sale this November. This one is written over from Torunn Gronbekk, featuring art from Julius Ohta and a cover from CAFU. The Venom of the Widow. After the birth of an all-new symbiote, what familiar face will cross its path and become its first host? And will that host be able to resist the symbiote's corrupting and violent influence? Perhaps the bigger question is, will the symbiote be able to survive theirs? So many things to say about this current title. So first off, I think switching the kind of creative teams from Al Ewing to Torunn Gronbekk and Julius Ohta is probably a good idea from Marvel. It feels like Torunn Gronbekk might have a really fascinating story to tell over with switching the protagonists of the series. I am really interested to see if Al Ewing is going to go back and flesh out more work over in the Venom property, or if it's just going to switch gears to Black Widow. That being said, I think Gronbekk has really proven herself as a writer throughout the pages of the fascinating Thor title, and I also really appreciated Torunn Gronbeck's work over with Jane Foster as well. This book has always kind of pushed the limits of what it means to be a superhero in the Venom property, and has also done a good job kind of subverting the lead character. So I actually think this book is pushing the correct boundaries, and we could be headed towards a really fascinating new era of this Venom title that I never could have predicted over in the first place. Lately, I think that Marvel should swing for the fences in terms of the comics to generate fascinating new stories over for film and television projects. Let's go ahead and take a look at our last book. This is also an incredibly climactic title. This is the Superior Spider-Man Returns #1, written by Dan Slott. We have a variety of artists contributing over to the series, including Giuseppe Camuncoli, Humberto Ramos, Mark Bagley, and Ryan Stegman. We're looking at the cover from Ryan Stegman on the screen right now. Superior Spider-Man web slings again. The Spider team that redefined the Amazing Spider-Man returns to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the most monumental and shocking Spidey story in a generation. Dan Slott, Ryan Stegman, Mark Bagley, Giuseppe Camuncoli, Humberto Ramos, Peter Parker, Doc Ock, together again for a Spider-Man story superior to all others. Marvel is dedicating quite a lot of time and resources to publishing this Superior Spider-Man run again. And I would love to see somebody else take over the reins over with the Superior Spider-Man character. Back in the day when that concept was first introduced, there were some great moments with Superior Spider-Man and the rest of the Avengers, and I think having a Spider-Man with this kind of dark and evil malignment definitely could lead to some fascinating stories. There were a few good issues over in Dan Slott's Superior Spider-Man run, but I would love somebody who's more oriented with like long-term storytelling and who has maybe a different eye over on the property to go ahead and take over the reins, So at the end of the day here, those are some of my thoughts on the recent Marvel books announced today and over at San Diego Comic-Con. I think we have so many fascinating books to look forward to in the months of October and November. To me, it really feels like Marvel is pushing their publishing line as far as it can go, especially with comics like Venom, who are switching the lead character. I want to know from you, which of these titles are you most excited about? Are you planning on picking up both of these Jonathan Hickman titles over the next coming months? Let me know down in the comments below. I want to thank you so much for coming to check out our top 5 books upcoming at Marvel for October and November. And we'll be back to cover everything DC Comics, Marvel, and Venom in the near future. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.